welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, the living room edition, where sports and culture connect. And yes, it is again the living room edition, mainly because it has been days of March Madness, women's basketball, doing the live stream, having a great time in the chat. And it's been day after day after day for hours. And it's just more comfortable in the living room than in my office, sitting at the chair at my desk. So yeah, I'm just here after the full day. So, things are, I don't know, but here we are. Nonetheless, I am behind there in some of the videos that I want to put out, some of the thoughts I want to share because of March Madness. So I have some catching up to do. So I'm going to start with Monica McNutt because she had something to say to BBC about, of course, Caitlin Clark, because for whatever reason, people want to psychoanalyze why Caitlin Clark is a draw. It should be obvious, but apparently instead of being obvious, it's just a source of picking it, nitpicking, and honestly making this game, which many of us watch because we like good basketball. We just wanted to have a good time and enjoy someone who could play. And somehow it became, as I've said many times, this whole cultural war. And now we got to psychoanalyze not just Caitlin, but we got to psychoanalyze anybody who's interested in Caitlin. And we need a whole big old something, something. And it's really, really not that difficult to understand. But I'll play along. So let's take a look at what Monica McNutt said. So I'm going to go on over to X to at No Wisdom Teeth. These names, right? At No Wisdom Teeth. And let's see what Monica has to say.
Long-term commercially viable.
Two things. I think it has to show up in our storytelling and it has to be encouraged by our families.
Yeah.
To me, right? And so covering the WNBA this past season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her, little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that she may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons, and sometimes they may not be based in all truth.
I'm going to start off with where she left off. We attach our fandom to people for all kinds of reasons, however she said it. Yeah, usually it has to do with talent. I mean, when we're talking about sports, usually we attach our fandom to people who know what they're doing in their field. If it's basketball, then what they do on the court. If it's soccer, what they do on the field. Whatever it is. If it's a musician, it's how their music moves us. That's usually why. It's only people who are trying to understand something that should be obvious that even this conversation comes up. So I'm going to go back to the question that Monica McNutt gets posed in mid-sentence as she's speaking. Let's go back to that.
The one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her, little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Why her? Why her? Why do you think her? Who asks a question like that? Who asks, if it were Michael Jordan, who asks why little boys and little girls and old men, who asked why are people showing up when there's an obvious talent in front of you. The question itself is absolutely absurd. And I got to wonder, why are you asking the question? Do you not already know the answer? If you don't know the answer, you've not been doing your homework, because everybody and their mama ought to know why. In this setting, there are people who don't even watch basketball. They could tell you why. They've heard about Caitlin Clark's game. They've heard about the logo threes. They've heard about the pinpoint passes. They heard about it. So why are you asking why people showed up at the game? People show up wherever there's something they want to see. That's simple, really. But no, it can't be that simple anymore. We can't simply want to watch sports. It's got to be something big and bad. Don't get confused by my voice. I'm not angry. I'm just like, get a grip, people. It is annoying. And it's getting more and more annoying. Anyway, let's look at something else here, because when Monica McNutt begins to answer she starts to answer that question about why, watch the interviewer. I should probably know her name. I have no idea what her name is. I don't really even care. But watch how she reacts to what Monica's saying.
But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her, because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she
watch this. Did you see that? Oh yeah. She just nods, because that's what she wanted to hear. That's what she wanted to hear. BBC here, everybody. Oh, she was a white girl from middle America. That's it. That's got to be it. Back it up in case you missed it. Keep your eyes on the woman. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
But she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole
house. It looks like, right. Yeah, right. There's some brainwashed folks up in here. Oh my goodness. Look at Monica McNutt's eyes on this still. Woo!
whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is
a whole lot to a lot of people, she says. I'm assuming she went and asked them. She talked to them. She got it straight from their mouths. And they said it's because she was a white and from middle America.
Truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing.
Okay. So here's the thing. We can all say that she's an incredible basketball player. She's a dynamic basketball player. She's a marketing magnet. We can say that. But that's not what you're saying. That should be the story. Why are people showing up? Why are young girls showing up? Because she's a dynamic basketball player, because she's a marketing magnet. Why isn't that your answer? This is what they try to do. This is how they gaslight you. They try to say, we have no doubt she's amazing. She is fabulous on the basketball court. She is worth watching. And that can't be the end of it. That can't be the answer to the silly question that was asked. That can't be it. It's got to first be, well, it's because she's white from middle America, and people attach themselves to her because of her whiteness and because she's from middle America. She's from Iowa. But by the way, she's a really good basketball player. See, this is what I said. If Caitlin Clark were a scrub, an absolute scrub, I've said this many times, then maybe we can have a conversation and say, no, people are not watching her because of her basketball. There's got to be some other reason. There's something else going on here. But she is a phenomenal basketball player doing things no one has ever seen before. And that just blows your argument out of the water, really. Again, if she were a scrub or if she was mediocre, like some other people, I'd have to say there's probably something else going on here, or but the question doesn't need to be asked because she's a dynamic basketball player, because she does things that no one's seen. No one, Shaq even said it to Angel. He said, I hadn't seen that. I didn't want to like her, he said, because he felt some kind of loyalty to Angel. But he's like, but she's a real deal. We have not seen women doing this before. That's why. But let me get to her point. Let me come out of this real quick. Let me get out of this screen share so I'm full here. I'm going to rub some people the wrong way, perhaps, with this that I'm going to say. But I'm going to say it anyway. Because, that's what I do. What if there were little girls from middle America who liked Caitlin, who's white? First of all, were there never any white players in the WNBA? Never any white players from, the middle of the country or whatever? Really? There are white players in the league, okay? And they did not get the draw Caitlin Clark got. So now, but she's a white girl from Iowa. And perhaps that plays into this. Like I said, I'm going to say some things some people are not going to like, so I'll say it again. What if there were little white girls at these games who loved Caitlin because she was a white young lady playing basketball? How is that any different from when Black people talk about, I'm so glad that my daughter or my son, whomever, got to see someone else Black doing something that we typically have not seen. And it made him say, oh my goodness, I see it. I can be it. How is that any different from that? How is that any different from Nneka Ogwumike, who said, I want to play for a Black coach? She finds inspiration in her coach. She finds inspiration in Noelle Quinn. I can see her. I can relate to her. How is it any different? Now, basically speaking, we know, listen, even USA Today did that article. I've talked about it many times, where the white woman said that the face of the WNBA has to be a Black face, needs to be a Black face, needs to remain a Black face, because the Black ladies of the league have built this league and all that. We've heard that from all these different places many times. Don't pretend now that you never heard that. We've talked about, well, they need to be so thankful of the ones who've come before, and they need to thank all the Black people. And, you got Paige, and that's what she did at the ESPYs, and you got to thank all the Black women and all. So you're saying that it's predominantly a Black sport, and the face of that should be Black, some would say, at least one who wrote that ridiculous article. So then we would have to agree that perhaps that's just not what white girls have seen when they've seen the WNBA, to a large extent. Although, of course, there are other white people out there who play basketball, right? But what if some young woman from the Midwest or wherever looked at Caitlin Clark and said, wow, I can do that too. I can do what I have not seen before as much. I generally see it's heavy toward Black players, of course, and that's what I've seen. And I didn't know if I could, but now I'm seeing her. I can relate to her. She's a white girl and she's out there balling out. She's a white girl. She's from from the kind of place I'm from and the place in the country I'm from. And so I can do that too. And I want to go see her do it. Why is that different than if a Black person says, I want to go, I want to support this person because they're Black. I want to be coached by this person because they're Black. How is that any different from the first day I ever taught? When I was, you guys know my background is in teaching. I parked my car and the kids were outside because the buses dropped them off early. School hadn't started yet. Obviously, I go in to people clapping as I walk through the door where I taught. I had people come to my classroom and was like, "Oh, Sweat, about time." Still remember the person who said, "I'm not racist or nothing, but about time we had a Black person up in here." It was a very diverse area in upstate New York, but they had never had a Black teacher. Some of them, none of them that I could think of had a Black teacher. And so for them, it was like, wow, okay, then I see that, then I can relate to that. Now, we need, God help us to get past that, all those kinds of things. But what if a white kid did the same thing a Black kid has done and said, wow, white girl balling out like Caitlin Clark, I can do that too. Is it only okay if Black people feel that way? I'm not trying to give any validity to what Monica McNutt said, because it was just because she was white. And I'm not trying to say that because Caitlin Clark plays basketball. That's the draw. But I am trying to call into question, what if there were white girls who said, hey, Caitlin's white and I'm white, and so I haven't seen a whole lot of white players doing this, that, and the other thing, so I can do it too. Is that a crime? Like I said, some people are not going to like what I have to say, but for real, there are areas, there are sports where white people have generally been the face of that. Take golf, for example. And when Tiger Woods came out, don't tell me there weren't Black people who thought, you know what? I could do that too. I hadn't seen that before. Or tennis, and the Williams sisters showed up, and people were like, wow, we didn't really see that. And they took inspiration in that. Hopefully we take inspiration in their games. But what if a white kid felt the same way that Black people are boldly saying they feel many times? You can answer the question in the comment section. What if? And does it make them racist? Does that make Nneka Ogwumike racist because she only wants to play for a Black coach? Well, you can decide all that. Does it make the kids who were like, oh, wow, a Black teacher? Wow, I can do that too. Does that make them racist because they saw only we get to do it? Look, the bottom line is that these people want to make it completely about everything else. I tend to think that the reason why Black people, white people, Asian people, whoever people enjoy Caitlin Clark's game is because she's got game, because she can play basketball. And I really don't care if there's a white kid or a Black kid and they look at Caitlin Clark and say, I can do that, then my goodness, why wouldn't they? She can play basketball. But if they identify with her because she's the exception, so to speak, in the big picture, I say you can only get an attitude about that if you're going to get an attitude about when Black people do it or feel that way. Listen, I'd rather not even talk about this stuff because the bottom line is she can play basketball. So everything else is just speculation. But since it's brought up, I'm going to chime in on it. What are your thoughts? These people are determined to be killjoys in this whole thing. I came back to the WNBA thinking this is going to be all fun and games. And I realized that people come to interviews and ask questions like, why are little girls following her? Oh, she's white. And, oh, yeah, right. That's right. That's it. What are your thoughts? I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.